Now, on to celebrating those who are doing good.
Welcome back to another episode of the Doing Good podcast. Today marks the beginning of a two-part series on Tucker's House, a 501c3 nonprofit based in Franklin, Tennessee, which is transforming lives by making homes safer and more accessible for families of children and young adults with disabilities. Our guest today is Hugh Nelson, owner and founder of Kingdom Builders, a faith-based residential construction company. But Hugh didn't start Kingdom Builders just to build beautiful homes. He started it to serve. Hi, Hugh. Welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here. Let's start by getting to know you. Would you tell us first a little bit about yourself and possibly your work?
Sure, Megan, thanks. Appreciate you having me today. My name's Hugh Nelson, and I own and operate a local residential construction company based here in Nashville. Been doing this for about 20 some odd years, and have a little bit of history before that. I was with the Metro Police Department for about 9 years and made a segue into construction, and it's kind of been a little bit of a ride since then.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about it. Right now, though, we are here today to celebrate your volunteerism. Would you share how you originally were introduced to volunteering, maybe early on in your life, or is it a recent thing?
Good question. Really, it kind of started with me when I was with the police department, and I was with the Metro back in the mid 90s, and I worked a midnight shift downtown, and it was a time before downtown was what downtown is now. Downtown, by about midnight, you kind of left downtown. It was a little bit sketchy, and but we started to have a growing issue and concern with homeless people downtown, and I started serving sandwiches on a midnight shift, just kind of out of the back of my police car, and that was actually my wife's idea, and we did it one Christmas Eve. And we were kind of blown away just the reception we got from these men and women that were so grateful. But as it usually goes, we got more out of it than they did. And we're just like, wow, this is pretty cool. And so we started doing things like that just ourselves. And that's kind of where it started. And then I've had some opportunities through my business in years since to plug in different ways. But that was really, I think, kind of where it kind of got in our hearts for my wife and I both, and started from there.
Fantastic. What a unique start. And so how has it changed over the years?
Well, we did different things. Obviously, I was with the police department, as I said, for about 9 years. And then I got into construction, and I've owned a construction company since about 2003. And one of the things that we've been blessed with are relationships and resources through our partnerships with different subcontractors and vendors and suppliers. And one thing that we realized early on is we had the resources available to us with a lot of people that if they were asked, they wanted to help. They were willing to jump in. And obviously, most of our projects were construction related and still are to a large degree, not completely. But we've been able to jump into a lot of different organizations and venues and use these resources that we have construction related to serve some people and do some pretty fun stuff.
Would you name a few of those organizations, and so we can better understand maybe that some are local, some are national?
Tucker's House is one of them. We've done several projects with Tucker's House located right here in Franklin, Tennessee. And they basically help equip people that are bringing a family member home that's maybe become wheelchair bound or had some disability that's made it where their home has to be modified in some way, wheelchair ramps, shower access, things like that. And obviously for us, that's right up our alley, construction wise. So we've been able to plug in with those great folks over there several times. Tennessee Baptist Children's Home in Brentwood is another one that we've worked with for years. We have renovated several of their apartments at their Brentwood campus. Most recently, we hosted a lunch. We have an annual lunch, and we call it an appreciation lunch for our subcontractors and vendors. And every year we have a recipient or a charity that we tag on to. And for a couple of years, it was Tennessee Baptist Children's Home, and we were able to donate money to them for their new campus that they're currently building down in Brentwood. So those are a couple of local examples. And again, we've always had people around us, people like Ferguson, Kenny and Company, our subcontractors, our tile suppliers, that when they were asked to jump in and help in these different scenarios, there was never a hesitation. They just say pretty much, "Hey, what do you need?" and partner together. And it's been pretty fun to watch, and just some great relationships have been built out of this.
Aren't people wonderful?
Yeah, they really are. And what I'm always amazed about is everyone wants to give. Everyone wants to do something. I think sometimes they feel like they just don't know how. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to get plugged in. And sometimes it's just asking and saying, "Hey, here's what we're doing. Could you help us?" And I've never had anyone say no.
It's so much of what I'm hearing, of how you volunteer and also how you work is this skill in construction. Could you speak more to that, or the partnerships that you have talked about with your vendors, or maybe how other people might use their specialized skill?
Yes, again, we have been very fortunate in our area of construction because it allows us to plug in with these different nonprofits and charitable organizations, because there's often a construction component to it. Someone's house needs to be fixed up or something like that. Or again, someone may be in a situation that they weren't in before, and they come back to their home in a wheelchair, and all of a sudden you can't go through a doorway, you can't get in a bathroom, you can't roll up to a sink. So those things have been just a natural plug-in for us. And I think that the key has really been listening to people around us and looking for opportunities to serve. Construction has definitely been one thing that we've been able to focus on. But as you know, Megan, there's so much more, and everybody has a skill, an ability, something to give. And I think sometimes people they don't know it, or they don't know exactly what it is. But the more that we come in contact with people and reach out and ask people to partner with us and whatnot, sometimes it's not necessarily construction related. Sometimes it's, monetary giving. Sometimes it's just giving of your time. And so there's so many different things that we've been able to just partner. And I could go on and on about the relationships that we have built with organizations and people over the last 20 years. And some of these are still ongoing and have been going on for years and years. And I think it just multiplies on itself. And it's been such a blessing to be a part of it.
When you volunteer with them, what does your volunteering usually look like? Whether maybe it's short term, long term project or not?
Good question. I'll use our latest project with Tucker's House as an example. We worked with a family that a young man had had a surgery and had become wheelchair bound, had an upstairs bedroom, and they reached out to Tucker's House to help them basically configure their home with that would be conducive to the wheelchair and the situation that they were in with Trey. So for us on this last project, we modified a bathroom. We widened doorways. We took up carpet that obviously was not good for a wheelchair, and we put down hardwood floors. We were able to basically kind of go in and modify Trey's room in such a way that it was his space again. Life had hit these folks hard. The unexpected had happened, and they needed some help. And thank goodness for Tucker's House that responded and called us in. And again, the domino effect just started taking place, because once we were called, said, "Okay, let's call our hardwood floor vendor. Let's call our plumbing supply company. Let's call our, tile guys, our framers, whoever we need." And so for that particular project, we were probably in their home for 6 weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks. So it takes a minute, but it was quite a transformation. And this young man that had been unable to go upstairs to his old bedroom was now able to do that. They had a lift put in to go up the stairs, and it was, for this young man and for this family, life changing, and just allowed him to get back upstairs with his siblings and where their other bedrooms were. He had been living, for the most part, in a dining room off of their kitchen for about a year because it wasn't accessible for him to get upstairs. And so just the opportunity to just play a small role in something like that. And obviously there were a lot of people that played a lot of different roles in making that project a reality. But, as they always say, you get so much more than you give out of these situations. And it just makes you want to turn around, and you walk out with that feeling of, hey, this is what it's all about. This is what we're here for. This is what we were meant to do. And just makes you just get excited for the next one. So as a company, we're always looking for the next project. We kind of have a saying around Kingdom Builders: we'll either be working on a project or getting ready to do another project. And we think it's good for us. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us focused. I think sometimes we can all get distracted. Life is busy, life is hard, and sometimes serving other people is the best way that we can find to really center ourselves and just remind all of us of how fortunate, how blessed that we are.
So true, every word. Well, you've spoken about how the volunteering impacts you. Could you share if you've seen how your work has impacted others, maybe Trey in particular? Were you able to get some feedback maybe from their family as to how it changed their lives?
Coincidentally, we were at a Tucker's House fundraising event a couple of months after we finished the project for Trey, and Trey's family was there. And so it was the first time we had seen Trey since we had finished
Oh,
the project. And to be able to visit with his mom and dad for a little bit, and with Trey, and obviously Trey knew who we were and remembered us. And like I said earlier, and he said it himself, it's changed my life. The family, said you don't realize. And I think that sometimes it doesn't take a lot. Takes a little bit of time and some effort, but it doesn't take much to have such a huge impact on people. And they were obviously enjoying Trey's new space, Trey's new bedroom. And it was such a blessing to me and to my family to be able to run into them again. And just, like I said, a couple of months afterwards, they've gotten settled in, and just to talk to them about how things were going, and to know that for years and years to come, this will bless that family. And that's a pretty good feeling. That's hard to beat.
and too, one thing I'll say, point out, or just make sure people listening here, is even though you were involved for 6 weeks and it was an extended project and you had contacts, and even if it's, I'll say, showing up for a day to help with laying tile or hammering nails, it all adds up as a group.
That's right. Yeah, I'm always reminded that, like I said earlier, that people want to help. Sometimes they just don't know how. I think sometimes they feel like, well, what skill do I have, or what could I do? But you're so right, Megan. Just someone showing up for a few hours to help with some demo work, for example. Those things, they make a huge difference. All of the people that work on our projects are not necessarily our subcontractors. They don't necessarily have to be skilled construction workers. Sometimes, of course, they are in the right circumstances, but sometimes that's not necessary. We had an event, a lunch, a couple of weeks ago, actually, here at Kingdom Builders. And again, I told you that we always have a charitable organization that we tie to it. And this year we partnered with an organization called People Loving Nashville, and we were collecting hoodies for the unhoused population. And they basically just said, hey, all we need are coats and hoodies, and anybody can do that. And we had a couple of hundred people show up for lunch, and we took a lot of hoodies over to a local church through People Loving Nashville. And, you know, just a small thing. And some people brought 2 or 3 hoodies or sweatshirts. Some people brought 20. And, but again, it doesn't take much and no skill level involved in that, but the impact that will have for that organization and for those people this winter that will receive those coats and hoodies. You know, you never know how far this stuff is going to go and the impact it's going to make on people.
And to take it even further, I'm getting the feeling between the name of your company being Kingdom Builders and the faith that you mentioned in your life. Can you speak to essentially how you see yourself or how you're tying together your work and your faith and your volunteerism?
Obviously, Kingdom Builders was chosen on purpose. We are a faith-driven, faith-focused company. Most important thing in my life is my faith, and I really believe that I have a job. It's to build houses, but I have a bigger job, and serving people and loving people. You can't get more like Jesus than to just go out and do that for people. And I think that regardless of your religious beliefs, just loving people and serving people. We do it because it's the right thing to do. And we think it gives us an avenue and an opportunity maybe for people to be like, hey, why are you doing that? You know, what's up? You know, why are you taking the time to do this? And that gives us often the opportunity to have a conversation about our faith. And that's important to us. But again, regardless of your why, everybody has an opportunity to serve, and everybody knows it's a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's what we're called to do. And, in my business, we have the opportunity to build homes for people, and that's very rewarding, and I enjoy it. But the feeling and the payback that we get internally doing these volunteer projects far exceeds anything else that we do. And again, I think it's why we're here. And we try to take every opportunity we can just to show people some love and compassion. It's a tough world. Life is hard. Everybody's dealing with stuff. And we try to just jump in and maybe spread a little love anytime we have a chance and just serve people around us.
I'm so glad you're here and that you're doing what you're doing and how you're doing it. But I also want people to realize that they can do that too. Sometimes it can feel so big because it is. I get that idea, but it's just taking one step at a time, and just a step is a great thing. It's something. Something is better than nothing.
That's right. Yeah. And I would just encourage everyone. Thank you for what you're doing and just how you get this word out. And there's endless places in Nashville to plug into. So make that phone call. Maybe even it's the place where that you work. Maybe you're the one that starts something. Maybe you have an idea. Again, I guarantee you'll find that people will jump on your bandwagon real quick. They will be anxious to serve. And sometimes it just takes somebody taking that first step.
In our next episode, we'll continue exploring Tucker's House by hearing from a staff member and a recipient of Tucker's House services. Until then, remember, extraordinary impact often starts with everyday people willing to serve others.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Doing Good podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation today, we invite you to subscribe or rate us on your favorite podcast platform. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, or YouTube at Doing Good TV. Doing Good is a 501c3 nonprofit. Please donate to support this podcast via the donate button on our website, doinggood.tv. And while you're there, nominate a volunteer you know for us to celebrate on a future episode. Together, let's celebrate those who are doing good.